At Rubber Band, we empower each other through positivity, kindness, and practical advice. Join a community of thousands of peers who understand the unique challenges you face. Rubber Band. Company agnostic, low ego, high empathy, always supportive.
Think you know Video My Job? Think again. We're no longer just a simple mobile app for video job ads. Think of us as a library of employee story videos embedded on your career site. Kind of like your very own YouTube, except you own the platform and not the marketing team. With Video My Job, you have a suite of enterprise-grade tools to plan video campaigns, send filming links, stay on message with AI scripts, and automatically brand your content. Want to know how we're helping talent teams like Deloitte create and publish 102 fully branded employee videos in just 4 days with zero editing required? Book a demo with Gav at videomyjob.com.
Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Rubber Band podcast, where I am joined by special guest Natalie Colton. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I live and work on, the Wadawurrung and Dja Dja Wurrung people. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waterways. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome, Natalie Colton. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's absolute pleasure. And you're joining from, where are you today? Where's home?
Moorabbin, so southeast Melbourne.
Oh, southeast Melbourne. I had for some reason a bit of a Sydney vibe coming from you.
Oh, really? Ooh, is that a compliment or not? I'm not sure.
Well, I'm a Sydney boy, so it's a compliment. But Victoria now, right?
yeah, down in Bayside, so down the peninsula.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Reminds me of my back when I actually exercised my beach road days every Saturday.
Yeah, all the cyclists going along Beach Road. Yeah, that's
one of the packs that would drive you all nuts when you were trying to drive to the supermarket, right?
Wonderful. Yeah,
those were the days. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to chat to you today, Natalie. I've been connected with you a long time. Member of Rubber Band. We've been connected on LinkedIn. So today's really for our audience to get to know you some more and to hear about the work that you do. And I always think the best place to start is to go back to your childhood and to learn all about baby Natalie. So tell me about your childhood and growing up and all of those wonderful things that make up the Natalie that I'm talking to today.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you. So I've had a bit of an interesting childhood, so I'm probably going to share some things that not many of your previous podcasters have done. But as you can tell from my accent, I'm my family originally from the UK. But my parents love traveling, so they're kind of nomad type people. They like to take on wacky opportunities. So I've actually lived in 6 different countries, including I grew up in Hong Kong, so I was there for 8 years.
Wow.
From the age of 8 to 16, so my formative years. And for some of those years, I actually lived on a houseboat. So my parents like to do things a bit differently. Yeah, true.
How incredible.
Yeah, and then obviously I've also lived in the UK. So my parents also had a pub in the country. So lived in a pub for a couple of years as well. And also lived in Switzerland and Spain. And then my husband and I got the opportunity to move over to Australia about 12 years ago. Most of my family about half of my family actually live in Australia. So they're in WA and have been for many years. And when my husband got offered a role over here, we took the opportunity, did the thing that everyone does and told everyone we were coming for 6 months. And 12 years later, 2 kids, a house, a dog, we're pretty settled. As a child, obviously just had some pretty amazing opportunities living in different places, meeting different people, and was in the UK for university and for the beginning of my career before moving over here. So that's a bit about me.
Wow. And do you feel that, your time because I can imagine Hong Kong at that age would be quite an intense place to grow up, right? Like, I love amazing. Hong Kong. I used to go there for work when I was working in life insurance. The head office was there. And, aside from being drenched in sweat every time that I left the office, it was just this vibrancy about Hong Kong, but at times it could be quite confronting as well. Like it was just that richness of, you know, the crowds and the heat. And yeah, tell me about how was that as a teenager?
It was amazing. I mean, obviously, I don't have much to compare it to, but I think growing up in Hong Kong as a teenager was just the best thing ever because, yes, you have the crazy city, you know, the nightlife and the bustling and the crowds and all of the excitement, which a lot of people think, you know, Hong Kong as being. But also there's a lot of green space and there's, you know, we used to spend weekends out on boats like junks, going to outlying islands, going to seafood restaurants. And I went to an international school, so, you know, grew up with lots of expats in a similar position to us as well. So yeah, it was just amazing. I just feel so grateful, and I'm actually taking my kids there in a few weeks, and that's their first trip to Asia. So I just can't wait to see them there and just kind of see the worlds colliding, really.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. And thinking back to when you were doing your schooling in Hong Kong, where did you think your career was going to go? Like, what was the desire? What did you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I think that's probably one of the benefits of being, I guess, an expat, going to an international school, is that you're kind of taught that the sky's the limit, which is a pretty amazing. I'm very grateful to have kind of had that around me. One of the downsides is, you know, people are always traveling, moving on. So that's probably set me up to feel that regardless of what career I had, moving, trying something new, whether that's contracting, moving countries, to me, that's quite normal. Whereas someone like my husband or people who've kind of grown up in one place, changing jobs can be quite a big deal. Whereas to me, I'm like, yeah, let's just go on an adventure. Let's just see what we do. But look, I think in Hong Kong, I probably hadn't come across recruitment at that point, and it probably wasn't top of my radar. But more just about, opportunity to travel, meet new people, just get to know different businesses. I guess that was probably more on my radar.
And did you go to university or did you start working after you finished high school? What was next in your journey?
Yeah, so I went to university in Bristol in the UK. That's where I met my husband. Yeah, so I did a social policy degree, pretty random, but I just loved learning more about more things. I didn't necessarily know which kind of direction I wanted to go in. I did the normal, hospitality, working behind the bar kind of jobs at uni. Had an office job as well, which was a bit boring. But yeah, I did actually decide to go into recruitment after uni. So I'm one of those strange people that actually put my hand up and said, that's the direction I want to go in. Yeah, so I know lots of people say they fall into recruitment, and it was actually kind of a decision for me.
Well, let's talk about how that decision happened, like how that all came about. But I'm curious to know, what was you mentioned, hospitality in uni. What was your very first job?
My very first job, it probably was actually hospitality. So probably in my parents' pub, actually, because I was living there. They couldn't get away. I couldn't get away from them. Working behind a bar, waitressing, and then we also had a B&B component. So doing housekeeping, like changing sheets, and pretty, I don't know, low level stuff, really. But I think with a lot of my childhood and the direction my parents have gone in, everything's being centered around people. So working behind a bar, I actually loved, because you just get to chat to people all day.
Was it like the Vic in EastEnders? Was it like that?
Look, we do sometimes joke that we could actually probably write like a book or have like a TV series on it, because it was a country pub where there was basically one street, there was one pub, one church, and a post office. And most of the people that came to the pub were regulars who had their own seat. They had their own kind of beer tankard. And then you get kind of like the Londoners coming to the country to come and stay as well. So yeah, it was pretty, it was a quirky place. It was good fun.
How fun. Love it. Love it. So you're finishing university and made a conscious decision, which is rare, to kick off a recruitment career. So what drew you to it, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I knew a few people that worked in recruitment and really enjoyed it. So I guess that was a draw card for me. And I just loved the idea of working with different people and different businesses. So I did actually decide it sounds terrible. Well, no, sorry, I shouldn't say it sounds terrible. I did also decide to go into agency as well. So I went, full force straight after uni. And I just love the idea of a variety of work, that mix of helping people, but also the commercial side of it as well, working with businesses. I interviewed at quite a few different recruitment agencies, some of which I decided right away weren't for me. So people, I don't think they do it anymore, but people pretending to have fake names to like try and get information from people, and all just pretty dodgy stuff. But I ended up working for a company called Nigel Lynn, who were a spin-off of Robert Half at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so a really great brand. And I was there for a year working in their accounting and finance perm desk. And it was tough, but I still credit, I think, having a year or however long people stay in agency and work in agency, being in that environment just really does set you up for success. The KPIs, the hard work, the competitiveness at times, it was tough, but I'm really glad I did it.
And it's quite different in the UK as well, isn't it? Like I've spoken to a few people on the podcast in terms of, people that are still working in agency here in Australia that worked in agency in London or, wherever it might be, because it is quite transactional and quite fast paced compared to Melbourne being quite network driven. Like what's it like? What's a day in the life of an agency over there?
Well, look, this is going back about 20 years ago, so I do think it's different in the UK now, probably more similar to Melbourne. But at the time, it was pretty cutthroat, to be honest. It was very competitive, even internally within the company. Never mind with other agencies. It was very KPI driven. We had the whiteboard where we had to put our stats up at the end of the day. We had to ring a bell when we made a placement. We worked 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. Like that was just the standard hours that you had to do. Like it was intense. We used to get told off if we were if there was too much typing, not enough talking. Like it was always, get on the phones. So it was. Yeah, it was probably quite tough. And the agencies that I've worked with in Melbourne, it seems to be, more network driven, probably warmer desks, warmer relationships. So I hope maybe some of the things have changed a little bit in the UK. But as I say, I learned probably more there in a year than I would have done in a different role.
Well, I started agency at a similar time to you in Melbourne, and the bell was there.
Yeah, okay.
I hated that bloody bell. I know. You felt like such a douche getting up from your desk and ringing this stupid thing on the wall and everyone giving you a round of applause. I was like, no. It's so funny. Let's hope the bell's not around anymore. I need to ask someone. It's traumatic memories.
It is. Right? PTSD over the bell. Yeah.
So you had that desire to move in, and you've continued your career over the last 20 years within our industry, which is awesome. But thinking back to having that desire to give this industry a crack, did the reality of what you thought it was going to be, did it meet your expectations, or were there some big surprises, or was it, hey, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be?
I think it would be fair to say it was more competitive and more cutthroat than I'd anticipated. The sales side of it, I maybe hadn't quite thought through as much. So I actually decided after that year to go into marketing. I did actually decide to kind of sidestep into a different place and went into early careers, kind of grad recruitment.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there were some things that I knew I really loved and wanted to keep in my next role. But there were also some bits that I was quite happy to leave. And those KPIs, ringing the bell, the BD side was probably something I was happy to say goodbye to.
And then from that first role, talk me through the next 20 years. Talk me through your career and the journey that you've been on.
Yeah, absolutely. I've realised I probably added some age to me by saying that 20 years, but anyway, roughly around there. So
oh, good. We're similar, right? I don't know if it's exactly 20 either, right? But it's
around that figure.
Yeah, agreed.
So I went into marketing for a couple of years, working in a non-profit, and then ended up joining a law firm in the UK, running their grad program, their early careers program, which to me was just the dream role, because you got to do the recruitment, but with the marketing and the employer branding, and just really having that internal role within an HR team was something that I really enjoyed. So yeah, I was there for a few years, absolutely loved it. And then that's when my husband got offered a role to come to Melbourne. So I didn't leave that role because I didn't like it. It was more just wanted to come and live by the beach in sunny Melbourne. And so when we arrived here, I ended up joining a law firm in their grad program as well, running their grad program, which was good. But I did actually decide to then do some contracting. So we were lucky that my husband had an ongoing role here and we could, allow me to do some contracting because I really wanted to get some more of that local experience. And I did also experience the tough side of being on a partner visa. And even though we were, planning to be here long term, it was hard to get an ongoing role as well. But again, grateful for the opportunities that I had. So I worked on the Telstra grad program. I worked for a tech startup in their talent team. I did a contract with RMIT Uni in their grad team. So yeah, did lots of different things and then ended up joining RMIT on I was there for about 7 years, actually 7.5 years in their kind of graduate employment team. So I went the other side, so working with everyone in the university and then working with businesses who wanted to attract grads. So yeah, just kind of continued that journey in the early career space. Absolutely loved it, and then ended up running a program called RMIT On Demand, which was it was allowing businesses to kind of tap into students and grads in that kind of gig type kind of part-time placement kind of work, which was amazing. It was great. We kind of started it from scratch, had some great success, and then COVID hit. So I actually decided to take a redundancy from RMIT. So had been there nearly 8 years and my kids were quite young. And so, yeah, decided to move on and say goodbye. And then obviously had the summer off to try and recover from 2020. Little did we know it was probably going to get worse in 2021. And then I went to the Department of Justice, so decided to tick the box government and did 6 months in their kind of recruitment campaigns team, which was interesting. And I think, look, it was tough. It was the middle of COVID. Everything was moving to online. It was an interesting experience, but probably would have been better not during COVID times, as I'm sure many people feel with starting a new role during that time. And then I went to Monash Uni, so I went back to my higher ed kind of place.
I didn't realise. I'm ex-Monash. I worked at Monash.
Oh, did you? In the HR team?
I looked after it was Biz Echo and it became Monash Business School when I was there. So I worked with Lee Barker, who was the head HR lead, in really setting up the new, which was called Monash Business School in Caulfield.
I looked after the business school. That's so funny.
Stop it. You did as well?
Yeah, so I looked after, I think, it was a few different portfolios. It was law, the business school, arts and education. So I looked after 4 faculties as their recruitment manager.
Yeah. And Michelle, I think her name was Michelle Clark, was the faculty.
Yes.
And I just adored her. We did so much great work. And the dean of the business school, he passed away actually a few years ago, but his name was Colm. He was amazing. But I'll tell you a funny story about Monash. We're going off in a tangent, but that's what my podcast is all about. I got banned from the Faculty of Law when I was at Monash.
Okay. How?
Okay.
Why?
Because I put on a job ad. This is a really funny story and a lesson for people out there when you're working in these kinds of environments, right? And I loved Monash, by the way. But I put as the first bullet point, join a world-leading education faculty, and the dean of law read it as if it was the Faculty of Education. And so he rang the head director of recruitment and said, I don't want that guy working in our portfolio ever again because of a typo. But apparently it's like folklore at Monash. Everyone still talks about it. But anyway, there we go.
Oh, what a claim to fame. What a legacy you left.
There we go. So a typo can really bite you in the ass. I think the lesson there is get one of your colleagues to read it out at all times.
I think so. I think we've all probably been burnt by a typo in a job ad, that's for sure. Yeah. But that sounds pretty extreme. But yes, working with academics at both RMIT and then at Monash, it's a different world, particularly when you're recruiting into their teams. So,
yeah. And then what came next after Monash? I love Monash. But anyway, let's keep going.
And then, moved to We Are Charlotte, which is where I am now.
Right.
So, joined just about 2.5 years ago now into their newly formed talent kind of team and service offering. And now I head up the function, and I just can't believe it's been 2.5 years, but just living the dream with them, as I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, but like We Are Charlotte just seems to be, particularly in the advisory space, it just seems to be growing and booming. Like, what's going on in your world? Like, it's like I just keep seeing more people joining the team. I see more work happening. I see all your content on LinkedIn. It just seems to be you seem to be owning your space, which is really cool.
Thank you for saying that. I think we do. It's something pretty special. So We Are Charlotte's been going for about 4 and a bit years now. And it did begin as a people advisory business. So really working with scale-ups, working with startups, kind of setting their HR foundations, working as I know it's your favorite buzzword, but working as kind of a fractional P&C support team to those kind of small but growing businesses. And then after a couple of years, so the team grew to 4. And then our clients started to ask for help with talent. So it came naturally, it came organically from an existing client base, which I think was really cool. And so they wanted a similar model where they could kind of tap into this talent expertise and support, but they maybe didn't have the need for either a full-time person or for a senior kind of talent lead. So fast forward 2.5 years, and the talent team's now a team of 7. And we support businesses across all different industries in Melbourne and Sydney, but also kind of Australia-wide, and companies who have offices and kind of needs for recruitment in APAC as well, which is good fun. And the ethos hasn't changed. We still work with growing businesses who want to kind of tap into a whole team of people, but without having the need or wanting the flexibility to have that as a part-time resource, or even a short-term resource. And what often happens is we lay the foundations, make those important hires for them, and then we often end up hiring them either a head of HR or a talent partner, and then we kind of back away from the engagement as well. So it's a really nice kind of cyclical model where we're there for a point in time and then set them up for success. And often they then come back to us if they need help with a project or like a busy period as well. So I just love the way that we interact with so many businesses. And look, sometimes it's tough. Sometimes, as we know in recruitment and working with people, it doesn't always be like the plan. Yeah. But it's great. So 2.5 years later.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask you an embarrassing question, and I'm sure some listeners might be asking the same question in their head as well. So it's We Are Charlotte. Who's Charlotte?
Oh, it's a good question. And you're going to put me on the spot because I'm not going to tell the story as well as I should do. But originally the name came about to do with Charlotte's Web, the story.
Oh, great. I love Charlotte's Web.
Yeah.
It still makes me cry to this day.
I know. It is a bit sad. But
I grow attached to garden spiders, right?
But the idea is that you've got all these people behind the web, kind of weaving the web and kind of bringing things together. But then I don't know if you've seen our branding, but over the last probably year or so, we've done a bit of a rebrand, and now we use this kind of graphic of Charlotte, and she's meant to be the kind of persona. And there's a whole team of experts behind Charlotte. So if a business decides to engage with the Charlotte team, they get access to kind of all these people kind of behind it. So that's the kind of direction we're going in with the name now.
I love it. That's amazing. I'm glad I asked the question because by the way, I'm welling up thinking about that beautiful Charlotte way and poor Wilbur. But anyway, what have been the biggest lessons of your career, Natalie?
Oh, that's a big question. I think resilience. I think being resilient, particularly in a people-facing role, working with lots of different businesses, whether that's an agency or now in a consultancy like We Are Charlotte, you have to be resilient. You have to be tough. But I think really focusing on what you're doing and why you're doing it is really important, and coming back to that and remembering whether that's when you lose your commission because someone withdraws when you're in an agency environment, or whether that's having tough conversations with your stakeholders in an internal role. I think it's about knowing that you don't always know all the answers. So I'm the head of the function at We Are Charlotte. I've got an awesome team of 6 quite experienced talent professionals who support me. And I'm well aware that I'm not always the expert in the room, and I'm quite happy to put my hands up and admit to that. So I think it's really nice to get to a point in your career where you're confident to know what you do know, but also know when you need to lean on help and support. Because, yeah, I guess some of the tough moments are where you think you know the answers and maybe you don't. But yeah, other lessons, I think it's also about trying to have fun. And one of the things I love about We Are Charlotte is we're a growing business. As you said, we're ambitious. There's lots of people joining. We're shouting out on LinkedIn about what we're doing. And I think it's about remembering that we've also got to have fun. We've got to, enjoy what we're doing as well.
And there's an authenticity around your content. Like it doesn't feel like forced fun. Like I can tell you're having a ball, and I can tell you're doing great work, and you're really close, and you're on a mission together. You're united. It really does feel like that, but it doesn't feel like some marketing exec has told you all to pose. And, it just feels like really organic content. And I love it. I think you're doing an awesome job.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. Look, I'll let you in on a little secret. We don't actually have a marketing person, so it's so authentic because it is us. It is the team behind it. Some of us have more of an interest in posting on LinkedIn and kind of creating socials and things like that. So yeah, it's all done by us. And authenticity is something. I think it's actually one of our values. I should know that. But yeah, it's really important to us to be ourselves. And yeah, we love what we do.
Fabulous. Well, speaking of loving what you do, what are you most passionate about, Natalie?
Oh, good question. I think I'm going to give probably a bit of a lame answer, but I'll say candidate experience. So just making sure that, candidates and our stakeholder experience, making sure that that we're delivering the best process and the best experience that we can. Because, if you don't go back to your candidates, if you don't build relationships with your stakeholders, it makes your job 10 times harder than it needs to be. So yeah, I'm probably most passionate about making sure that everyone's having a good experience, and that includes my team as well. It means a lot to me to make sure that they're delivering a good service, but enjoying doing that as well.
Mm. It's key, right? Like it's got to be a memorable experience for everyone: the stakeholder, the candidate, the consultant. Right.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one, that can be tough in a consultancy because we don't always have full control. We work with lots of different businesses. Sometimes, our role is about getting that buy-in and taking them on that journey to understand what's important in hiring, particularly now. So yeah, it's really important for us, but also being able to deliver that message to our stakeholders as well.
Absolutely. And keep authentic. I love it. Don't get a marketing person. I'm just going to say that whoever owns We Are Charlotte.
Thanks, Eden. I'll let Jess know. Yeah, I'll let Jess know.
I get it as well, like with rubber bands. Like, I'm a one-man band and I don't make money, right? But, well, I've got a day job, but, rubber band doesn't make money. But, I think that's the key to it. Like, we want real. We want real now. I think we're just over the gloss. In terms and I think candidates are over the gloss. They want to hear employee stories. They want to see a day in the life, and they don't want that to be some big whiz bang production. They want to see the reality. And it's cool. I'm with you. Well, we're coming towards the end. I would love to know finally what advice you would give to anyone out there who is either working in recruitment, or perhaps maybe, just like you were back in the uni days, considering kicking off a career in recruitment. What would your piece of advice be for those people?
Yeah, awesome. I think my advice would be to try and experience different industries and working in different environments. So whether that's agency and an internal role, consulting, or even just working, in different industries, I think can give you so much exposure to different ways to recruit and different kind of focuses throughout a recruitment process. I love the fact that I've worked in different industries and in different types of organizations. And I just think that really sets you up for success, as well as also reminding you where you probably want to focus your career as well.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And my final piece of advice for everyone out there is don't get banned from the Faculty of Law just because of a stupid typo, right?
That's so funny.
I know. We'll talk. So I know we're catching up soon in person. So I'll tell you some more of that story.
Yeah, let's have a glass of wine in hand, I reckon, for that conversation. Yeah.
Oh, Natalie, thank you so much for taking the time out. This has just been such a fun chat, and it's been really awesome catching up with you. Thanks for all the support with the community, and congratulations on all the great work you and the team are doing. It's fabulous. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.